So I mean, you're just exhausted all the time. So then that kind of affects your lifting. For me instantly. It affects your social life because you don't necessarily have the energy to
Right.
go out and socialize.
Right. Absolutely.
It affects your work because you can't. I mean, I'm blessed that I can still work because I know some people can't, but I mean, it affects my work as well because I can't concentrate. It just feels like you're just almost half of yourself,
Right.
in every way possible. So
I get that. You mentioned before, it kind of takes your soul away. All right, what is going on, guys? This is Mark Millick with the Moral Medicine YouTube channel. Today we have Bryce. Bryce is a PFS patient who has had this issue for, I believe, several months now. So, Bryce, thank you so much for joining us.
yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bryce, I think a good starting point here would be to ask you, when did you start taking finasteride and why?
Yes, so I took finasteride beginning of this year, February 10th. It's ingrained in my brain. Sadly. But so I took it for hair loss, like many of the other folks on this channel. So I think a friend actually said, "Yo, Bryce, I think you're losing your hair a little bit." So I did research about it and whatnot, a ton of research about it, and finally decided to take it on February 10th.
Okay. Okay. So before you took the medication, what was your life like? Like, what kind of person were you? What did you do? What were your hobbies? What were your interests?
Yeah, so I would say, well, I'm 24. So I work in real estate. That's my main job. So my main favorite hobby is weightlifting, bodybuilding. Absolutely love it. On the weekends, have a great time with my family, friends, typical kind of thing. Play the guitar here and now. That's kind of my musical background. But weightlifting is definitely my favorite thing to do.
Sure, absolutely. So you're an active guy. You have hobbies. You have interests. You have a life, obviously.
Right.
So when you started taking finasteride, I guess let me ask you this: how was it prescribed to you? Did you go to a dermatologist or did you go through a telehealth company?
Yes, that's a great question. So I actually visited two doctors just to kind of get just to see like what they thought about the drug.
Yep.
So I went to one and he said he had been on it for 10 plus years and was still on it. So obviously that gave me hope.
Gives you
Um,
reassurance. Yep. Makes you feel
yeah,
great.
reassurance. He said he was good. The other one said he had probably had two people
Mhm,
that had sides, but as soon as they got done taking it, the sides went away, right?
mhm.
Um, but I didn't want to take the pill, so I ended up going through Hims because they had a topical version, which is safer,
Sure. Okay.
safer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the route I went.
So you took the topical medication. You didn't even take the oral medication.
No, sir.
Okay. So what was the prescription for you? I mean, what was the dosage? How often did you take it?
So you put, I think 3 drops,
Okay.
top of your head, just one time a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long after you started taking it did you realize that something was kind of off?
Yeah, that's great. Good question. So I would say 3 or 4 days after I started taking it was when I was starting to get those first sides. The first side that I really noticed was like the morning wood was completely gone. And
Mm-hmm.
as like a 24-year-old who's super active, who eats clean, that's kind of a red flag, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I got ED, and then I would say days 4, 5, 6 when I was in the gym, and everything just felt completely just off.
Hmm.
So then I just stopped taking it on day 10.
Wow, it was very short lived for you then. You only took it for basically, 10 days. You started noticing signs around day 4 or 5. Let me ask you this. Did you notice or did you get did the doctors tell you about anything potential with like muscle loss or any side effects like that? Or did they just tell you about like the ED or the sexual issues?
Yeah, the sexual issues were the only things that I was notified of. Just the ED, the possible loss of some libido.
Sure.
But then once you came off it, it was supposed to come back, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. So after you came off the medication, did anything change? Did things get worse? Did they steady out? What kind of happened after that?
so I have the complete list. I got it right here on my phone. So
Yeah, no, take it out,
so
shoot it.
all the sides that happened. So when I first stopped it, I would say nothing worsened like in the first couple of days, but then I kind of had this crash, I would say.
Yeah, which is common for a lot of people.
Okay, on like day 6 or 7, I just woke up and I was like, what in the world is going on?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
my soul just like something was wrong.
Wow. Okay. A lot
So
of people do experience that. So typically, a lot of people will see maybe a certain level of recovery after coming off the medication, and this is typically with the oral medication, right? And they'll feel good for a week or two, and then all of a sudden, around week 1 or 2, they hit that, like you said, the crash, and that's when everything starts to kind of deteriorate. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of, I guess, what happened to you? Is that what you kind
yeah,
of felt?
yeah, that's spot on.
Hmm.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so okay, so all the sides that I had were brain fog, extreme fatigue, ED, morning wood was gone. I was developing gyno, even
Mm.
though it was only 10 days. It's wild how that
Wow.
was starting to form.
Yeah.
Um, I had this weird kind of weight gain, kind of bloat in the stomach area, and a lot of people were saying, well, maybe it's because you eat more. One of the doctors said that, but I track my calories because
Mhm.
bodybuilding and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
know what I eat when I eat.
Hmm.
So I noticed that immediately.
Hmm.
And it had to be from finasteride.
Right.
Some anxiety, depression happened, the muscle aches, loss of strength, muscle. It took longer to recover from workouts, felt like just like stiffer. My body just
Hmm.
didn't it just didn't move as well. It just
Right.
felt weird.
Right.
Watery semen when I was on it. Um, Higher heart rate because I track it with an aura ring.
Okay.
So my heart rate actually jumped at night.
Oh, wow. So you have
Blood,
data to back that up too.
yeah, I have literal data to back it
Yeah.
up, which
Wow.
is which is wild because it also so on the aura ring it tells you like your recovery like at night when your heart rate like stabilizes. And
Hmm.
like just every single month beforehand, every single day was optimal. And then a
Hmm.
week or two after I stopped finasteride, every single night was like pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. So
Right.
something,
A major correlation there, obviously. You can't deny that.
right. So
Yeah.
that was obviously weighing on me. I was forgetting things easier, and then I can't concentrate as well.
Hmm. Has any of those things improved?
So the ED has gotten a little better. The morning wood, that's back. The gyno is going away, which is nice.
Hmm.
Um, the weight gain, the stomach's still there, depression still there,
Hmm.
some anxiety still there. The
Hmm.
whole muscle, whole body aches type of thing, that's all still there.
Hmm.
Stiffer still can't recover. And then mentally, I once in a while I can't concentrate, and then it's I forget things easier as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've had a pretty severe case of this up to this point. I mean, I'm glad to hear some things have improved, but you've basically had the whole 9 yards, the physical issues, the sexual issues, and the cognitive issues as well. And you weren't forewarned about any of this stuff. You said the doctors didn't mention anything about memory issues or cognitive issues or muscle loss or anything like that.
Nope, just the sexual size was the only thing I was notified of.
That's pretty much all I was informed of myself. Look, I mean, I've been bodybuilding for 15 years of my life. I think I told you a little bit about my story. I dropped almost 20 pounds within 6 weeks of coming off this medication. My diet hadn't changed. And I like you, I track my calories, I'm eating
Right.
3,500 calories a day. I'm working out like a maniac. And all of a sudden I'm continuing to lose weight. My body's changing. I'm losing the definition. And it was the weirdest thing. You think as you lose weight, you would get more defined, but it's almost like
Right.
my body was packing on fat, or I mean, the muscles just became less defined and less dense, but I'm still losing weight. And as somebody who's actually done bodybuilding shows before, I can tell you that's not normal. That's not typically how it happens,
Right.
obviously. Did you have anything like that? I think you mentioned you ended up having some weight gain, right?
So I had like fat gain.
Okay.
I lost so my weight on the scale kind of stayed the same, but I lost vascularity, lost strength in the gym, which typically means you lose muscle in the gym. Those
Right.
go hand
Yeah,
in hand. And that's
absolutely.
still pretty consistent as well.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sorry to hear that, man, because I know as a bodybuilder how devastating that can be. I mean, that's a big part of your life, obviously, you know.
right.
So you've been off the medication for about 5 months now, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you've seen some improvements with some things, other things really haven't improved all that much. Have you gone to any doctors about this?
Yes, so I went to one of the doctors that said he'd been on it for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And I told him everything that was going on. And he had us do some blood work, like your thyroid, your cortisol, just to those basic things
All the
and
standards.
everything. Yeah, all your standard stuff. And he
Yeah.
came back and he said it's all clean. And then I had to go and do research to like find out like total test, estrogen. So I don't want to say I was the doctor,
Yeah, but you were
but
advocating for yourself.
right. And then the next time I came in, I literally I told him every test that we need to run SHBG, just try this. And he was like, cool. And then we ran it. All the blood stuff came back. He was like, I don't know what to do. You're clean. So that was kind of that.
Was he a primary care physician or was he an endocrinologist?
He was a primary care.
Okay.
But then he said he could refer me to an endo, but he wouldn't know what they could do with me if the blood was already clean. So
That's the issue that everybody has is you go and get all this blood work done. I got like 20 miles of blood taken from me when I went to my endocrinologist, and there wasn't really anything that was abnormal. There were a few things that were slightly off, but nothing that would, account for all these symptoms I was having, especially with me with the muscle loss, loose skin. My testosterone was fine, right? I think I mentioned to you, I have loose skin now. I have the lack of definition. I have the lack of muscle density. I still have the cognitive issues. It's really life altering, unfortunately.
right.
It's interesting because you said your doctor said he's been off finasteride for, I think you said 10 years. I went to a neurologist, and this is actually the third neurologist I'd gone to when I was having my cognitive issues back in 2021. This is about a year after I started taking Fin. And, I was so diligent about putting finasteride on every piece of medical documentation that I gave to the doctors, right? Because I wanted them to, see, okay, you're taking this, maybe this has something to do with it.
Right.
The neurologist even saw my paperwork and said, oh, you're taking finasteride. I was like, what are you taking that for? I said, hair loss. He's like, that is great. I've been taking it for like 15 years myself. He's like, it saved my hair. So I never thought, it reassures you. It's like, well, then it can't be finasteride that's causing all these issues. And,
right.
For me, primarily, I mean, it was all neurological for me. It wasn't until I came off the medication that my body started to deteriorate and I lost the muscle. I had the skin issues and the facial changes and everything else. It doesn't make any sense. And again, your blood work, it comes back clear. So
right.
what do you do and who do you turn to, at that
right.
point?
Right.
So how has this ultimately impacted your life?
Well, I mean, in every facet you could possibly think of, right?
And it really does. Everything that makes you is just taken away in a matter of just several days, and there's nothing to stop it. And that's why I cannot stand it when people talk about this nocebo effect, because you didn't even know that some of these things, really any of these things could happen to you. You didn't think. And you would think it's safer using a topical medication, but I've talked to a lot of guys at this point who use the topical and they still end up developing, full-blown PFS. They have the muscle wastage, they have the cognitive issues, they have the sexual dysfunction. So for anybody out here listening, even the topical is just as dangerous as the pill version.
Yes, 100%.
That's really something to keep in mind. And I've talked to guys too. I actually read a post recently about a guy who was taking finasteride for 20 years and he had zero issues. Yeah. And then around year 20, he started having some ED and thought maybe this is finasteride. Didn't immediately jump to the conclusion that it was, came off it. And then all of a sudden he started losing muscle and he started having, muscle wastage and facial wastage and losing density, collagen loss and everything. And not in a million years would have expected that to happen. Right. There tends to be the serious withdrawal when you come off the medication is when people see a lot of their symptoms. So I get curious sometimes in that all these people who are very pro finasteride who've been on it for so many years, if they just decided to stop one day, would they potentially develop PFS? And that's a pretty scary prospect for a lot of people who are taking this medication.
Right.
And that's why I tell people, I mean, my personal recommendation is don't even start it because you never know how your body's going to react. It really is like Russian roulette,
It is.
So your family and friends, how have they reacted to this? Are they aware of this? Have you kind of kept this to yourself?
Yeah, so I would say so my family knew that I was starting the drug. And then I told them when I stopped it. But then like I would say 2 months after I stopped it, I just broke down in tears to them. And I was like, there's something wrong. I need to go to the doctor. And that's kind of when I knew like, this is serious.
Yeah.
I told my friends, they believe me, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I told them there's not a lot of clinical evidence about it. So you're either going to think I'm crazy or you're going to believe me. But I would say I'm very lucky that they're supporting me through this, which
I'm
is
really glad to hear that, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's really important because you need that social support, and especially when you show people some of the clinical evidence, which I don't want to say we're lacking. We're just having a tough time kind of correlating all these different things to finasteride, you know.
Right.
But a lot of things in the work right now that will hopefully demonstrate that finasteride does cause these epigenetic changes that we speculate. And I personally believe this is reversible, but we have to continue talking about this and coming out and discussing this, you know, as a community.
Right.
I really appreciate you stepping up and telling your story. My last question, which you actually kind of already answered, did you feel like you had, you know, enough warning or anything from the doctor before you took this medication? I mean, did they give you any type of heads up about anything regarding what you're going through?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah,
I mean, they told me about the sexual thing and that it would go away, but in regards to the mental things, the body things, the muscle things, not even a hint of it.
right. Now, you went through the HIMSS website, you said, right?
Correct. And they didn't. What's funny, because I reached back out after everything happened, and I was like, "Yo, there's something wrong," and they just were saying, "No, that can't be right. It's not finasteride. And they were just completely just kind of saying I was out of my mind, type of thing.
They will avoid it with everything they have, man. They do not want to admit that finasteride can cause these issues. And so getting the medication for me, because I took the oral medication, it was easy. I went to the HIMSS website myself. And yeah, I had to do a simple questionnaire. It was like I don't know, a one-page questionnaire, take a few pictures of my scalp, and then like a week and a half later, I had the medication on my doorstep. And it was that easy. And I guess I had a consultation with a doctor. It was more of just like a thing that I had to read over. You know, finasteride can cause sexual issues. And you know, you consent. Okay, I consent, right?
Yep.
No, nothing in there about muscle wastage or muscle loss or anything like that.
Yep.
Before we hop off here, do you have anything else you want to tell the audience? Any closing statements you want to make?
Just if I had watched a video just like mine, possibly, or anyone else's, I mean, hair's nice, obviously, but it's never worth risking your health, risking your life, risking your social status, anything like that. I would just go bald.
Yeah.
Who cares? Because at the end of the day, no one really cares, I would say, what your hair looks like after like this situation. Like I would shave it bald right now in order to feel like what I did 5-6 months ago, if that helps anyone out there.
I have said the same thing for 2 years now. I would gladly give away all my hair today to get back to where I was prior to taking finasteride. And a lot of people argue, well, going bald is worse than the effects of finasteride. No, I can tell you right now, absolutely not. But here's a sad part. I probably did agree with that before I took the medication. I thought to myself, well, no, going bald it's gonna destroy my social status, my professional status. It's gonna destroy my mental health. I can't let this happen. I gotta be proactive about this.
Right.
You take it, and then everything else goes downhill. I'd rather lose my hair than lose my muscle. You know.
Right.
That's a big part of my life, as it is, you know, a big part of your life too. I'd rather have my full cognition back. You know, I do a lot of public speaking, and so, you know, to have a tough time articulating my thoughts or even visualizing things anymore, that's a difficult thing for me. I'd love to have all those things back, but I don't have them right now, you know.
Right.
And hopefully I'll see improvements, and I hope you do as well, Bryce. You're about 5 months off. A lot of people do see pretty decent improvements over the first year. Some people end up recovering, but a lot of people don't, unfortunately. And that's why it's so important that we continue having these conversations and getting people to realize that this is a real issue. This isn't just psychosomatic. This isn't just in our head. This is actually, we need to do something to resolve this.
Yeah. And for all the PFS people, if you're on the Reddit site, anything like that, please help others. I know how isolating this can be. Just message someone once in a while, just check on them. Because you never know how dark someone's head is right now during the situation. Very isolating. It's scary because these 4 to 5 months have been some of the darkest times of my life, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy I have a great help team, but this is scary. This is real, guys. This is life altering. It can be.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have talked to so many people. Suicidality just runs rampant in this community, unfortunately. And like you said, because it is so isolating, you can't comprehend what this feels like unless you
Right.
go. And you can try
Right.
explaining what anhedonia is like to people. You can try explaining what it's like to work out like a maniac and to not be able to put on muscle. You can try explaining the cognitive dysfunction, but until you fully experience it, you're never going to fully understand. So I second that. For anybody out there who needs to talk, I tell everyone, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to other people in the community. We are here and we need to support each other. That's really, really important. So, Bryce, thank you so much for joining us, man. And
Thank you.
So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for starting this site to spread awareness.
absolutely. And thank you for coming on and participating.